Hey everyone, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, Matt Phillips, Will
Hey
Loomis.
guys.
I don't know where they are, but here we are, and we're here for a very, very specific reason. We're here to talk about the brand new AC/DC album, Power Up, and we've all got it. We've all made it a
Yeah.
point to go out and get it. And Will, where's yours?
In the car.
In the car.
I didn't bring it in.
Because we're prepared. Matt's even got the vinyl, which is awesome. Yeah, so basically I thought we would go through track by track and see what we think of this. I'll start off by saying I think this is an album that I wasn't expecting. I really didn't think AC/DC would release another album. It's been a crazy past 5 years for the band for so many reasons. If you're a big AC/DC fan, you already know the story. I mean, so in 2014, the last AC/DC album to come out was this one, Rock or Bust, with the fancy lenticular cover. It was, I'm going to call it kind of a half-hearted release. Malcolm Young was very ill at the time. Phil Rudd was having some legal troubles. He's not even in any of the photos, so I don't know. I don't understand why they bothered doing a photo session. I'll find an example here. I mean, you know, there's AC/DC as a four-piece. So anyway, and then so to go on tour to support for the Rock or Bust tour, they got Chris Slade, who was with the band during the Razor's Edge period. So the tour was going, and then singer Brian Johnson was in serious danger of losing his hearing. He had to bow out of the tour. There were tour dates yet to commit to, so they brought in Axl Rose to honor those dates. And then the tour ended. And then because AC/DC are not a band, like none of the members of AC/DC go anywhere near a computer or anywhere near social media, near as I can tell, there was silence. There was all kinds of speculation. Malcolm Young passed away, I believe it was in early 2017, sadly from dementia. And that was it. You weren't hearing a thing out of AC/DC. And then I'm going to say it was almost 2 years ago that we started to see those photos from Vancouver of Brian Johnson and Phil Rudd, apparently at the Warehouse studio, Bryan Adams studio in Vancouver, recording new music. And I don't know, Matt, I mean, we've both been looking things up like this. Did you get the impression that this has been done and finished for quite some time, like early this year?
Yeah, it was supposed to come out earlier this year, and then of course COVID happened and it got delayed.
Yeah. And of course, now it's here. Power Up. Now this is the clear sticker that was on the plastic when I bought this. I kind of stuck it here. It's more straight than I thought it would have been, so it kind of looks cool. They're definitely going with a red theme this time. This is kind of cool. This kind of repeating shot. You go from one member of the band to another. And this is the second album to feature Stevie Young on rhythm guitar, taking the place of Malcolm. Stevie would be a nephew to Angus and Malcolm. My understanding is that they came from a very, very large family. So even though Stevie is their nephew, he's not that much younger than them because they have a lot of older siblings. It's kind of how that works. And, you know, he's got the Gretsch. And, well, here's a current shot of the band. This is, of course, from the video for the first single. We'll be talking about that. Yeah, this is cool. I like this. And, you know, we've talked about this before. I mean, I've always, not always, but I mean, you know, I'm an AC/DC fan. I've never been a huge fan, but I've been listening to this album nonstop since I got it. I just think it's really, really good. And maybe, you know, there's a few factors there. Maybe it's the unexpected factor. You didn't think you were ever going to hear another AC/DC album. Brian Johnson's back in the band and sounding as good as he ever did. Also, there's something kind of warm and fuzzy about the fact that this crazy year with everything that's gone on, AC/DC, unaffected by it, boom, puts out a new album. Sounds just like it's classic sounding AC/DC, but I just think there's more than a fair share of really strong songs on here. And I think that's been evidenced by the fact that even Matt bought it. So Matt, why don't you take us through your personal AC/DC history?
Well, yeah. So before we get into talking about the tracks, I'm probably the least fan of the three of us as far as owning any AC/DC, listening to AC/DC. The last album I bought from AC/DC came out 30 years ago. It's this one. That's literally the only thing I own by AC/DC. Razor's Edge from what, 1990, right?
1990. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, if COVID hadn't happened, I might not have even bought this record. It was just sort of like the right album at the right time for me. And I ended up buying the CD and the vinyl. So yeah, I like it.
All right. So let's go through track by track. I've made some notes. Not a lot. There's not a lot of notes to make about AC/DC, but we'll start with Will, then we'll go to Matt. So let's start with the first track, Realized. Will, your thoughts on this one?
Starting with me. Okay, that's okay. I thought it was a decent opener to the album. It's an okay song. Like the beginning of the album kind of slacks for me, if I'm being honest, but it was a decent opening track. I kind of got confused with both of the first two songs starting and sounding almost the same. So like the confusion of keeping them separate. But the intro is cool before the riff, and it's a pretty good song, I would say.
All right, Matt.
I love this song, but I will say, so I buy the CD and I rip it to my computer and I let it play. I put it on and I'm like, did I just skip the first, like, it sounded to me like just the way that the song starts out, it sounds like it's already like 2 or 3 songs into the album. And it kind of confused me for a second, but no, I really like the song. It's got like 3 or 4 different riffs going on. And I like there's a quick strumming bit that's like, dun, 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 and he kind of mimics that in the solo, which I really thought was kind of neat, but yeah, I dig it.
What I had written here is that the lyrics are almost philosophical.
Oh, okay.
Which you don't think of for the AC/DC, but when are you going to realize those moments just pass you by? And also, every song on this album was written by Angus and Malcolm.
That's right.
Normally Brian Johnson, or back in the day, Bon Scott would write the lyrics. But oddly enough, the last time that happened, that Angus and Malcolm wrote an entire album, just the two of them, was The Razor's Edge. So I don't know. But certainly, if anybody's got the right to be philosophical, the thing is, AC/DC's music is never going to change. So even if they do something a little bit different lyrically, it's not going to sound any different. I thought it was a great way to start off the album myself. And lyrics are kind of come into play here. Track 2 also starts with RE, Rejection. Will, give us the up to the moment take on this one.
Definitely my least favorite song on the album. Again, the intro, of the album, the first few songs, not my favorite parts, but it sounds a bit slower, like it's not as upbeat as some of the other songs. And the lyrics are interesting, to say the least, especially the first couple times you listen to it. I'm sure Tim can exaggerate on that.
Yeah,
so
Matt.
I actually think this, for me, is the most interesting song on the album. So like Will said, if you hear the lyrics for the first time, you're like, what are they trying to say here? Like, you reject me, I'll take what I want. And so I got thinking about it. I'm like, AC/DC is not really, I don't consider them to be like a political band. A lot of their lyrics, especially on this album, a lot of the lyrics are kind of ambiguous and there's a lot of analogies and stuff. This one, to me, sounded like they were specifically talking about a certain group of people that have been in the news for the last few years.
Yeah, it's funny. It's really funny because when I first listened to the lyrics, I was kind of like, ooh, they can't. Yeah. Oh, that's because, I mean, this is a band, they've gotten in trouble for their lyrics before, Night Prowler, Richard Ramirez, all that nonsense. And the more I looked up about it, and this particular group of people that Matt was talking about, oddly enough, a song, we're going to keep referring back to The Razor's Edge, but the song on The Razor's Edge called Mistress for Christmas, I didn't know that was about anybody in particular, but it is. It's about someone who, shall we say, is on their way out. I didn't know that. I love the music. The music is prime AC/DC. I know what Will means about it slowing down a little bit. I didn't have that written down for this one, but I do in the future. So the next up is the first single, the first thing any of us heard from it, Shot in the Dark. Will, what do you think of this one?
The first time I heard it, I definitely enjoyed it, but I don't think it's as strong of a single as like Rock or Bust. Like if I had to pick the song Rock or Bust or Shot in the Dark, I'm picking Rock or Bust. And I can't not hear I Shot the Dog during the chorus. I can't not hear it. No matter how many times I listen to it, I can't not hear I Shot the Dog. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
Shot in the Dog beats a walk in the park, eh? I really like the single. I don't think it holds up to singles like Thunderstruck. Again, I haven't heard Rock or Bust all the way through, I don't think, or the Black Ice that much, so I don't really have that to compare it to, but I really like the song.
I like it. To me, it's just quintessential AC/DC. There's something I like that they do in there, and there's a lot of what they do musically that's cool. That's, I think, more intuitive than anything. I don't think anything's planned with these guys, but I like how it goes right into the chorus. You think it's going to go for another couple of bars, and then boom, they're right into the chorus, and it just helps it along, gives it that push. You know, the video's cool. They've got the red theme going on with it, like the pictures inside the album. And unfortunately, the gang vocals, the way that they're shouted, it does sound like Will said, like that. But you know, fortunately, he comes in with the beats a walk in the park, so it's got the rhyme to it. So your brain goes, oh, okay, this goes with that. No, I really like it. To me, it's funny because I like this way more than Rock or Bust. Now, the first single from Rock or Bust was Play Ball, and I thought that one was pretty good too. And this one's got a similar tempo, but I'm just always amazed when, you know, these guys come back with an album and they find a way to write riffs that don't sound like stuff that they've done before and yet sound exactly like themselves. Track number 4 has, I think, one of the most unusual titles an AC/DC song has ever had. Through the Mists of Time. This is not about Middle Earth. It's but Through the Mists of Time. Will, your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely a very interesting AC/DC song title. Wasn't expecting it to sound anything like the title would imply that it sounds like. I think the solo's cool, but they have the background vocals through the chorus I find odd and not super enjoyable, even though I do like the song. But this is the last song. Like after this song is where I think where the album starts for me.
Interesting.
So, as far as the song title, I thought it kind of sounded like the title of a Greta Van Fleet song. Then you look at the lyrics, it's like, hear the whisper of the whirlwind. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they make this into a single.
It's to me, I wrote down it's poppy for them, and it's poppy that the way Money Talks was poppy, and the way that Song on Black Ice, which was a single called Anything Goes. And when I say poppy, I just mean, or You Shook Me All Night Long, something that's just very, very melodic. It's an odd title, but I mean, once you get past that, it's classic AC/DC. And again, they're writing about time and aging, I think, here.
Yeah,
right.
I like,
you know,
I like the title. I was like, oh, that sounds like a Greta Van Fleet title.
Yeah, I never put that together, but it totally does. Okay, so next, number 5. This is kind of a more classic sounding AC/DC title. Kick You When You're Down. Okay, Will, take it.
I think this should have been the opener to the album. Like, this is an excellent song. Sounds like classic AC/DC. The intro is cool. The riff is cool. The lyrics are catchy. The lyrics are cool. Just everything about this song is perfect for an AC/DC fan, I think.
Well, would you say this is your favorite song so far on the album, or have you got?
So far, for sure, but not my favorite overall.
Okay, cool. I noticed I've been listening to the album quite a bit with my headphones on. I like the little bit of things they add, like, well, they kick you when they're done. Then you hear the wow, like a little wow in the background, or just the little production things are kind of neat. this has some of my favorite lyrics on the album. One of the lines goes, "Shady lady, you think that money grows on trees. Rotten apples by the barrel ain't a delicacy, you see." It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting for an AC/DC lyric, but yeah, I dig it.
Yeah.
Good rocky
Um,
tune.
what I had written about this, I really like this one too. It has a cool, kind of clean riff in it, like a cleaner sounding, less distorted guitar, and they do that sometimes too. I really,
Yeah.
that's about all I had about this one. The next one, track 6, Witch's Spell. Well,
Yeah, I don't know if it sounds familiar for anybody else, but the riff before the chorus sounds like a different AC/DC song exactly.
Oh,
Figure out
yeah.
which it is.
I couldn't put it together myself, but I know what you're talking about.
And it also with that like the tap, like the quiet high guitar sounds like a little bit like Sync the Pink version.
oh,
I do like the song, but yeah, there's something about it. I can't place what it sounds like, but it sounds like something I've heard before.
Yeah, it's got that finger picking intro, which I guess is quite familiar for AC/DC. I really like the last kind of 30 seconds of the song. I mean, none of these songs are really long. This one's like not even 4 minutes. The last like 30 seconds of the song has this kind of delayed ending, and the blow, blow. I kind of like that little bit of it.
yeah. The finger picking is a classic AC/DC. Then Will mentioned, Sync the Pink. It's in that. It's at the beginning for those about to rock. It's just if you're not a guitar player, it's, as opposed to strumming a chord, you're picking it. So you pick the 2 strings at the same time instead of plucking one and then the other one. What I had for this one, backing vocals are intact. They've always had the cool, shouted backing vocals, and they're using that a lot on this album. And I think this one is one that benefits from it. And I think this was been put out as at least a lyric video, I think. But like if there was a single, or I guess a song they would play live, this would probably be one of them from the album. They'd probably do 3 or 4 from an album if there was a Power Up tour.
Cool.
So next up, we've got Demon Fire. Will, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, AC/DC, you can tell when an AC/DC song is an AC/DC song, but I find the intro to this is a little bit of the different AC/DC intro. Instead of the guitar coming in and then the drums coming in and then the bass. It's like a really cool intro, and it's another one of my favorites off the album.
Yeah, so this song kicks off side 2. I thought it was a great kickoff for side 2. I like that kind of 13-note riff. I really want to learn that on guitar. So out of all the songs I've heard so far, that's the one I'd probably try and sit down and figure
out. This is my favorite from the album, I think.
Oh.
If I had to pick one, this is my favorite. And I love the cool, twisty riff. And it's kind of very classic AC/DC. It kind of reminds me of the little longer riffs they would do, like Riff Raff, down, 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 or Beating Around the Bush on Highway to Hell. Like they're longer and they cover a lot of notes. And it's a faster song, and I like the fact that at this point they pick it up. And because I just have the CD, it makes sense that they made that the side 2 opener. And I love the fact that they're thinking in terms of side 1 and side 2, because there's a real art to that. What closes a side, what starts a side. It's like having 2 albums that you can, put the bookends to. Yeah, Demon Fire is probably my favorite from the album.
Right on.
Next up, track 8, Wild Reputation. Will.
Yeah, I think Wild Reputation has a really catchy chorus, and it's just a really cool song overall. It's about middle of the pack for me, but I like it.
Yeah, it's the shortest song on the album. It doesn't even clock in at 3 minutes. It's like 2 minutes and 54 seconds. And there's 3 verses, and it's still like under 3 minutes. So I like the third verse. I like the third verse. Brian kind of speaks and I'm coming down Main Street. Get out of my way. And I ain't stopping for nobody. I like it when he mixes up his voice like that.
Yeah, that was good. I was going to write, Brian had a kind of a cool spoken part. I had written down that this will only ring true to a few people, and it will for you guys. The opening riff to this song, you might think I'm crazy, kind of reminded me of the Chickenfoot song, 3.5 Letters. Just the very beginning of like
the sound of the guitar for sure.
The sound of the guitar, yeah. It's like they're playing like octaves, and
yeah.
But I like it. It's good. It's good. I don't know what else to say. Track 9 is No Man's Land. Will.
Yeah, so the first couple times I heard this, I never thought anything about it, but listening to it yesterday, the intro sounds like it was kind of written to be like a rock anthem type of song. If that makes sense? It's the intro riff. And I like the flow of the vocals here. They don't always follow the guitar. They kind of are in the middle of the different music, which I think is really cool as well.
So No Man's Land, it's kind of like a train analogy in the lyrics. Gotta get out. And I think it might actually be my favorite chorus on the album. And to me, it's kind of like maybe the most traditional AC/DC song. That's just coming from me. I really like, there's like an octave back and forth riff on there with down, 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 down. That kind of goes in the background. I really like that part. So.
Yeah, for this one I had, it's good, and it's got a catchy chorus, again, using those background vocals. But I did say that there's always a danger when you have a song at this tempo. There's a danger of it starting to drag a little bit. And maybe a few more BPMs might have raised this one up a little bit, but it's good. It's good. I'm glad that they do change it up with the next track, Systems Down. What do you think of that one, Will?
Yeah, I find the chorus very similar to No Man's Land, where the chorus is Brian trading with the background singers going back and forth, and I really like that. And the song is super cool as well.
Yeah, I'm right with Will on that one. Two very kind of similar songs to me. I like them both. I will say, for me, this is the most raucous kind of solo on the album from Angus. Probably like maybe my favorite solo. I don't know if it's my favorite one, but it's like the most kind of where he's just kind of letting go.
Yeah, I mean, Angus, again, like how do you find different notes to write songs about? How do you find different solos to do? And he always seems to find a way. Again, it doesn't sound exactly like something he's done, but it's Angus Young. It's a cool solo in this one. And I also wrote, it has a cool fade in, which you don't always get with AC/DC. Their songs usually just start right off, but this one fades in, and I like that. Next one might be my second favorite on this one, Money Shot. But first, Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really cool as well. Definitely one of my favorites. Again, it was first few listens, never thought much of it, but the last couple days, I've really been enjoying that song as well.
So that's your AC/DC kind of sexual innuendo song. I like it too. There's a little laugh at the start, actually, that kind of made me laugh. I'm getting a little bit of a Bad Medicine vibe. I don't know just about the lyrics. It's not quite the same kind of song, but.
Bad Medicine, I get it. This song could have been called Antidote, the way that the chorus goes. I mean, either one of those could have done it. To me, it's a real pick-me-up kind of song, and I think that's why I really like this one. Like I said, this one and Demon Fire, probably my favorites from this one. And then finally, that takes us to the the one that kind of ties it all together because they're using the red theme on this, Code Red. Will.
So this was my favorite song right from the first time I listened to the album until now. I like the intro riff. I like the verse riff. I like the chorus riff. I like the lyrics. I like everything about this song. This is the most perfect song on the album for me. It's my favorite by far.
Red, for some reason, when I keep hearing this, I'm like, this sounds to me like a song that Tim would try and sit down and learn. The riff of this song. It just sounds like something that I can hear you playing. I want to hear you try that one.
Okay.
For me, I mean, I like the song. It's the last song on the album. I never thought that it really the song doesn't really take off anywhere. And it's kind of abrupt close to the album for me. But I like the song. I just wish there was like one more.
Yeah, that's funny because AC/DC, they've never been a band for bonus tracks. They've never done that. They've never, and and I think that's good. I almost said I salute them for that, but that's too on the nose. But they've never done it where they've released the album and then a year later they release it with 3 more songs. I hate that. Hollywood vampires. No, I hate that. Give the fans that are lined up to buy it first thing everything, and then do a shorter version of it. I think it's a strong finish to a strong album, and again, it just leaves you feeling like, wow, no matter what else has happened in 2020, AC/DC are back. There won't be a tour to support this one, but judging from the amount of people I've seen post this one, I think a lot of people are buying it, and I think like Matt, there's a lot of people buying it that don't have all the AC/DC albums or have very few AC/DC albums that said, you know what, I'm going to buy this. So Matt gave me some stats on this album that I thought were kind of interesting too. It's the first album since, I can't remember, it's the first album since Blow Up Your Video that doesn't have a song with the word rock in the title.
Yeah.
I never would have clued in. And it's also, I think it's the first album in quite a long time that doesn't have a title track. There's no song called Power Up on here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, it's good. The band sounds good. It's Brendan O'Brien, who's produced the last couple of AC/DC albums. This album, honestly, it could have come out any time in the last 30 years. It doesn't sound, there's a couple AC/DC albums like Fly on the Wall that I think the production kind of dates them. Other than that, they're kind of timeless. So, that's something to be, it's never gonna sell like Back in Black, but this actually might stand a chance of being one of the very few classic rock bands to have a platinum album in this day and age, or at least a gold. So, yeah, I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they got back and put it out. And much like Back in Black was a tribute to Bon Scott, this one is a tribute to Malcolm Young, as a matter of fact. And I forgot to show that, but it's in the booklet. This one is for Mal. Malcolm Young is like the engine room of AC/DC. So, and a lot of these songs were ones that they had started to write. So yeah, well, who knows? If we never get another one, they ended strong. So that's our take. The latest AC/DC Power Up. Thanks, guys, for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions. We'll see you later.